Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday the 25th of March and welcome to the Toilet Paper Diaries. On today's episode, it's called Life Will Never Be the Same Again, and we feature the number of people in quarantine has reached an all-time high around the world, 5 businesses you can start at home right now, and the pitfalls of working from home. Brought to you live from Houston with Ernesto Verdugo and from Dubai with Dave Crane. Ernesto, how are you?
I am, in quarantine as everyone else. So right now we are just getting started with this new program. We had a technical challenge and we just overcame that challenge, and we're actually recording the video. So possibly in a very quick way, you can tell them what happened to us.
Well, the thing is, the show must go on, which is always the way it should be in entertainment anyway. So we had a problem with the broadcast. It wasn't going live directly, so we decided to record it as live and put it out later onto different platforms. So it means that we don't have our normal repartee and chats with people watching the show, but we can always catch up with them later. But I thought it was important because we give fresh content every single day. We spend a lot of time preparing it. So if we were to ignore it, abandon it, and come back tomorrow, then all the stories we have for today would be old by tomorrow. So that's why we decided to move ahead. Now, I don't know what your day's been like because you only start very early, but it's 9 o'clock for me here in Dubai. And I spent today talking to about 7 or 8 different people, coaching them all around the world on how they can improve their business and launch their businesses in a different way. Some of them working on their existing business, some of them wanting to start a side hustle. But it's interesting to see what you can actually do when you're stuck at home with just access to the internet.
Absolutely. I mean, well, that's one of the reasons why we are creating this fresh content to help people and keep people abreast of everything which is happening right now. So I woke up this morning to the news that Prince Charles was already affected by the coronavirus, and I think this is just an important thing. But I would like you, Dave, to comment because you are the official British correspondent of the Toilet Paper Diaries. So possibly you can give us your input on it.
I don't know how official it gets. I worked with Prince Charles many years ago when I was in the UK. I've been in Dubai for 25 years. When I worked with the Prince's Trust, really phenomenal guy, really gentle, really smart. And it just goes to show that all royalty and everybody else is available and at risk. And so, I mean, American royalty probably doesn't get much higher than the Hanks family, with Ruth Wilson as well. And lots of other people like Idris Elba have been noticed as being positive for coronavirus. And so it just tells people you've got to be safe. I mean, if our celebrities are probably more at risk than normal people, because they're always out and about meeting people. There might be hundreds of people every day, shaking hands, getting photos, putting their arms around them. If something is viral, they're more likely to be in a position to catch something. So your reclusive people like Johnny Depp, who doesn't really go out to play with anybody, are probably the safest of all the celebrities. But saying that, they've shut down almost old movies, old TV shows. So our own celebrities, wherever they are around the world, won't be broadcasting or getting near people for quite some time.
Yeah, it is something that we really have to emphasize every single day. Everybody, please make sure to stay at home because, I mean, nobody is safe out of this. And as we already mentioned earlier, the generation which is not really taking this very seriously are the Gen Z generation and possibly some of the millennials. And that's why I think it's very interesting right now that the World Health Organization is actually using TikTok for promoting the fact that people need to be on quarantine. So right now, TikTok is the official platform that the World Health Organization is using. And now what we have been using TikTok for, it's mainly for dancing. And yes, there's a lot of people which are downloading TikTok, but bear in mind there's short videos where you can also help people find out information about you, especially for that specific generation. So Dave, are you so far in TikTok?
Well, I am. I've got a TikTok account, but I never really dance or sing anyway, so I've never had any reason to place anything on it. But I know you're a big singer and dancer, so I'm surprised I haven't seen more stuff from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm going to start actually showing some of those videos of TikTok. Now, talking about TikTok and talking about basically how people are using TikTok right now on these times, let me just show you right now a video from my friend Ingrid Adam. She's a stewardess for Southwest Airlines, and she basically created this video while on the aircraft. As you can see, the aircraft is actually empty, but it just shows how people are using TikTok to let go of steam. So just have a look. So I think...
there you go. That's what happens clearly when you got the entire drinks cabinet to yourself.
Correct. And you know what happens is that, as we were mentioning earlier, this is a way to let go of steam, but it is also a way to show a little bit of the culture of Southwest Airlines. I mean, normally you would say, you know, because of course she's wearing uniform, Southwest Airlines was going to be very upset, but in reality, Southwest actually was very positive and encouraging due to the circumstances. So, yeah, as we can see, we are living in complete different times. Dave, you have some great advice.
Yeah, but if I can just interject there, Ernesto, yesterday we showed a video of Corona beer and the way that they were positioning themselves, saying, people, look at all the people don't drink Corona now because they think it's got a virus in it. Idiots. Whereas these guys are saying, you know what, we know we've got an empty airline, but if you do go on the airline, you'll have fun because that's what we do. Now that's exactly the message that people should be using if they want to get people to come back. Now, I'm not saying people should be coming back right now because the quarantine is there for a reason, but it's about positives. It's about getting people to want to work with you, not necessarily shaming them. And actually, we should be talking at some point about quarantine shaming, which is a new way of affecting people if they do break the quarantine. It's a new thing that you do shame them on video and say, look at these guys going in the park and chatting and doing their normal stuff. That's a new thing that's just come out of the quarantine. Sorry, you were going to ask me a question.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have some great advice today. Before we actually go into our most important topic of the day, life will never be the same again after coronavirus. But we are still, a lot of people are still on the. I mean, some people are in lockdown. Which, by the way, there's three. That's one of the things that I just actually recently discovered. There's three levels of quarantine. So you have just the regular self-quarantine. Then afterwards you go into what is called shelter in place. I do not know if you have ever heard of that. And then you go into lockdown. So shelter in place that means that you have to really stay at home. But I mean, you still don't need permits to actually go out. But then you actually, if you go into lockdown, that means that you actually need permissions to leave your house. So in the first two, you don't have them. You don't need to have permissions. I mean, you can go out and you have to be as careful as possible. But then you go in lockdown. So, for example, in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, in Madrid, Spain, in Milan, Italy, in New York, in Washington, in California, they are already in lockdown. So you actually have to have permits in order for you to go out. But right now, for example, in my case, we are only in self-quarantine, but very likely, very soon, we're going to go all into shelter in place. How is it there in Dubai?
In Dubai, they're not strict, but they are quite demanding. And so we're probably at the first level, which is self-quarantine, but we've been told to do it. So, for instance, I got a memo today, my wife looked up online, that I can walk my dogs, but the shortest possible journey. I should really wear a mask, and I should wipe anything that I touch along the way to make sure that it is safe for other people to use as well. So They are very reasonable about it. I mean, otherwise my two dogs would go stir crazy in the garden. I've got to take them out and about. That's what they expect every morning. But they are very... they've locked down everything else. So shopping malls, parks, businesses, right across the board, they've made it as safe as they can for everybody by asking them to stay at home. They're doing a lot of concessions with banks. So we're advising people on how they can then not pay credit cards and defer the payments and remove the extra interest because the government's decreed this is what should happen. So they're actually trying to make it as easy as they can for people to survive out here as long as possible. But it doesn't make the job easier that much because at the end of the day, businesses are going to close, people are going to be unemployed, and we're not sure what life will be like after the coronavirus. And we should discuss that in today's show.
That's a great point, and this is the reason why we wanted to call this show Life Will Never Be the Same Again. Let me tell you one of those things that I am getting people to hear. I mean, I get people to tell me all the time, well, you know, when we go back to normal. I have heard this 5 or 6 times in the past 3 or 4 days. So that's what people are thinking, that when life goes back to normal. Now, my question is, what's going to be normal? Because I believe that life will never be the same again. And I think it's important that we realize that we are entering into a complete new environment. As I mentioned to all my speakers and my clients, I tell them, well, you know, this is 9/11 2.0. Life will never be the same again. There's been a reset button that has been pressed, and there's going to be changes absolutely everywhere. So we were discussing a few of these changes just before we got into the live session. So possibly you can share some, Dave, and I can share some.
So we're looking at the things that will never be the same again in terms of our normal business. I can reel off a couple of businesses that will be completely different as a direct result of what we're going through right now. So first of all, you're going to find that real estate will change quite considerably. People will change the way that they think about their business for a start. So if you've got a home business right now, which most people have, even if it is working as a freelancer, then you start thinking about the fact that actually this is quite convenient. Maybe I should keep a home office. And a lot of businesses will just not bother going back to work again. They're going to say, this is actually quite convenient. Why don't we interview people and let them stay where they are? Now, what that will have a knock-on effect is the way that people will dress. So, for instance, people won't, right now, if you talk to people online, they're probably going to look a bit scruffy. Like right now, I'm wearing just a sports shirt and nothing below it. Of course I am. I wear shorts. But people wearing tracksuits and people not doing their hair properly or not putting makeup on like they would for work will become the norm. Because one of the things that really hits during a time like this is the lack of interest in the posh luxury goods, labeled items, looking like you wear the best clothes. Everyone's going to start wearing more clothes like this, and this will become a norm for business. So I think that fashion will have to pick up at some point, but I think there's going to be less emphasis on it. I think also, as we talked about working from home, people will now start looking at a new hybrid version of an apartment or a house, which will have a natural study for you to work in and broadcast from. Because more and more people will be freelancers and will work from there. I think we'll see that a lot of the malls, or the super malls that were growing, will change and maybe not go back into the shape that they had before, because more people will be buying online, which makes, of course, a whole new logistics industry. Your supply chains will be everything. So I think that those are the big ones from my side that are going to change and not snap back in afterwards.
Yeah, well, what I was just sharing a little bit with you earlier is in the airline industry, which is of course an industry that I have been there for a while. I mean, right now we are seeing just on the right of the screen, we're seeing all the aircraft from American Airlines, which are right now parked in the airport in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And this is actually fairly shocking, because I don't think that we have ever seen this craziness. I mean, all these aircrafts And what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of people which are going to discover that, you know, that business could be done right now without really having to travel. I mean, right now, just think about it. I am right now in Houston, Texas. You are right now in Dubai. And we are having a perfectly fine conversation. We could deal with business. We could have a full meeting. Right now, everybody, the search of work with Skype, with Zoom, with GoToMeeting, with GoToWebinar, all these tools are going to come and going to start being used all the time. So I think the airline industry, I think the business travel industry, hotels, and all these different things surrounding the travel industry are going to definitely be very, very affected. And I think, well, the travel from home, of course, comes with some challenges, which, of course, I think it's important that we understand what those challenges are. I mean, you have some challenges that people were already facing while working from home, right? And that just reminds me of this video that was actually happening some time ago.
Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. Pardon me. My apologies.
What's this going to mean for the region?
My apologies. South Korea's policy choices on North Korea have been severely limited in the last 6 months to a year.
Because that's the natural order of things for people working in this kind of industry. I spoke today, I was coaching about 8 people today across the world, and the ones who actually are speakers, some wanting to be speakers, some actually are speakers, and every speaker was saying, yeah, I'm used to this. I'm used to everyone going to work, and I don't really see them. I just deal with the decision makers, and I do a lot of work from home. So that's going to be the way people are. But I think you're right in the fact that a lot of travel will change when people realize they don't need to. I think it's going to work really well for big data and for tech. And I think 4G, 5G will become more mainstream as people want to do more of this. So what we're doing right now, maybe even with multiple monitors, maybe with regular meetings around the world, I think there's going to be a lot more companies that have fewer members of staff, but have an international impact. So you can easily have 8 people around the world working for your company, and they connect like this. They never see each other, but they have a great business model. And I think you'll get a lot more of that, which is great for business, but it's bad for tradition. And I'm all for that, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I absolutely agree. I think there will be a lot of changes which are going to be very beneficial. But that requires that people actually reinvent themselves. I think that's just a very important thing. So right now, if you have been so far an employee and you have been going every single day to go to work in the office, I mean, things are going to change, and you need to reinvent yourself. This is a time of reinvention, not so much a time of because of course everybody's going to start talking about recession, and I think the time that we are living right now, it's a time for reinvention. It is absolutely critical, because things are going to change in many different ways. So right now, if you try to envision where everything is going, you're definitely going to see that things are going to change. So business as usual is not going to be absolutely business as usual. So talking about that, Dave, you have some great tips of new business that you can actually start right now online. So can you share some of those ideas?
5 different businesses, Ernesto, that people can start doing right now. And I would really urge people, if you're at home and you're working with a company, you already know there's a very good chance that your company is basically running on fumes, because the supply chain towards the end result of that you get paid from might not be there in a month's time. So you should really consider a side hustle that you really want to do, or that really will pay, just in case, to make sure that you have got things coming through. So first thing is becoming a freelancer, or using Fiverr, Fiverr.com. which we've been working with for many years, not necessarily as suppliers, but working with an amazing range of freelancers. There's a whole ecosystem on there of some incredible suppliers, from everything from creating business cards to websites to copywriting to anything. And a lot more people will be on there, which will drive the price down, but it's going to be very interesting how that develops as well. Online tutoring, especially on how to use apps and different bits of software, that's a new area that's going to grow. Remote translators, people who are able to change and speak languages to make it easier for you, whether working on your videos to translate it for you, or even in a meeting where you've got somebody who can translate for both sides to allow you to speak to somebody in Ecuador and somebody from France. You can have somebody who speaks both languages who's doing that interpreting for you. Creating a podcast, of course, that's been around for some time, but as you get more and more people realizing it's useful to be a business expert, more and more of them will start talking about it and creating podcasts. And the last one I wanted to share was creating an online thrift store or a car boot sale from your house. Because as you stay at home for the first time, you look around and you say, why have I still got that? I know I paid for it, but it's just taking up space. I want to get rid of it. So there'll be a lot of people who will be using logistics firms to ship things across. Who'll just say, right, on today's thrift store, today's house boot sale, I've got all these items. If you want them, they're at a certain price. Pay online through PayPal or whatever it is, and we'll get it shipped to your house. So I think you'll see more and more second-hand goods being shifted like this as well.
Yeah, that's great advice, Dave. I am just seeing here that our correspondent in Abu Dhabi, Munir Al-Busaidi, is actually just showing up right now. So let me just bring Munir to the line. And Munir, what do you have? What news do you have right now in Abu Dhabi?
Thanks, Ernesto. Thank you, Dave. Yes, well, I am here on location in Abu Dhabi and with my new friend Bob. Bob is, yes, he's a tree, but he's my new friend because social distancing is now a thing, and Bob is okay for me to be around him. Like, no one's going to bat an eyelid if I kind of hang around Bob. Although there's no one around to bat an eyelid, so it's totally fine. But one of the things that I was saying to Bob a little bit earlier, and perhaps a message that I've been sharing when I've been going online, is I was telling Bob, in this time of isolation, I just want to let you know that you're not alone. And it's a message that I've been going on and sharing online, and perhaps I want to share with your audience and ask your audience to pass it on, because I think in times like this, it's great to let people know that they're not alone. So to everyone watching this video, you are not alone. We're in this together. Thank you very much for watching. This is Munir coming to you from Abu Dhabi. Bob, did you have anything that you wanted to add? No, Bob was never going to add anything. He's a tree. So thank you. Back to you guys, Ernesto and Dave in the studio.
We also know some speakers who aren't as good as Bob, so we shouldn't really go there and name names, but you know what I'm talking about. So there we are from Abu Dhabi. We've got more great reporters over the next couple of shows who'll be sharing all around the world what their experience is. So looking forward to talking to them very soon as well.
That is fantastic. I think we should actually just close the day today with a couple of health advice or tips. First of all, we can see here our first tip, which is spread chili peppers in your hands. It doesn't do anything against the virus, but you learn really fast not to touch your face.
That's brilliant. I've learned really quickly not to go to the bathroom until you've washed your hands with sanitizer.
And just our last tip, and this I think it will be very applicable for you, Dave, because I know that you're a big Star Trek fan. This is how to properly greet someone during the coronavirus outbreak. Basically, doing the how do you do it? How is it called?
It's live long and prosper. Live long and prosper. That's a sign for doing that. Live long and prosper. There you go. My hands look really weird. Okay, I look creepy hands. That's better, but you do it that way. So that's the greeting. But by doing that, it means you don't actually touch anybody. and it also means that they don't have a clue what you're doing. And they're thinking, why? Unless you're a Trekkie, you have no idea. But it kind of works for me as well.
That is fantastic. So, Dave, can you close the program, and we'll see you tomorrow. Make sure to watch us, if everything goes fine, technically at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time in the United States, or 9 o'clock Dubai time.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to catching up with you tomorrow. We always love your comments, and you can join us in our special group, which is www.bit.ly/Give Me Paper, and that's where our community is growing. We love to have your questions, we love to have your opinions and your thoughts, and how you're dealing with all the different things involved in the quarantine period.